And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another instalment of my ongoing weekly series, Valiant to the Last, in which I read the entirety of the Valiant universe. Today's video, as promised last time, is going to be diving into Archer and Armstrong. Before I dive in, I just want to say I think this is video 52. So I think this is actually my 1 year anniversary of starting this series, which feels kind of wild in a lot of ways. I never really expected it to ever get this far. There's a lot less than 52 deluxe edition hardcovers. But yeah, I guess I got carried away and I started looking at all the uncollected bits and pieces, some of which have been brilliant, some of which have been terrible. And I still have at least, I think, 7 or 8 deluxe editions to get through, as well as a bunch of other uncollected series to review as well. So I very much doubt I'm ever going to reach a 2 year anniversary because I don't think there's enough comics for that. But this has been an interesting project, and yeah, massive props to the few people that have actually stuck with me throughout this. If you're coming to this series late, then I guess just to say, you know, I appreciate people watching this, and yeah, I'm glad that I've had a chance to make the only guide like this on the entire internet, from what I can tell. No other YouTube channel, even the ones that say they're Valiant fans or even have Valiant in the name, have done anything like this, which always strikes me as kind of bizarre. So yeah, it's been an interesting year, and I've no doubt there's going to be more to come. So without further ado, this is Archer and Armstrong Deluxe Edition 1. This was an early Valiant series. In fact, I think this started with the Valiant relaunch in 2012. Obviously, it has the standard kind of formatting of deluxe editions from the era: standard spine, standard banner, deluxe edition number 1, because there is a second one which we'll look at next week, and a clean textless cover. The this cover is the alternate, or cover B, of issue 10, I think. The only reason I know that is that I tend to use these for the thumbnails for these videos. As you may have noticed, the thumbnails will always be the picture that's on the deluxe edition, or if it's not got a deluxe edition, it's just a picture I like from the series. Interestingly enough, this cover for the alternate for issue 10, actually the cover has an extra bit here which they've cropped out for some reason on this deluxe edition. That's the only reason that I mention it. Anyway, let's have a look at the spine. We've got Archer and Armstrong, we've got the creators, and I say deluxe edition number 1. And then on the back we've got a standard back format, blurb, more blurb, picture. Annoyingly, this has got some stickers on it. I bought this second hand. This is actually the very last deluxe edition I picked up in my entire collection. Whilst chronologically this came out very early on, it's been out of print for ages, and so I spent ages trying to track this down at a vaguely sensible price. Annoyingly, like I say, it has these stickers. They're kind of super glued on, which is really frustrating, so I might try to soften them with some white spirit or lighter fluid or something. But if you're in the comic community, you'll know that these like really hardcore stickers that are just kind of super glued on or stuck really hard onto a dust jacket are kind of the bane of our lives. But there we are. Let's look at the inside. You've got the usual rear flap with the creators, front flap with the sort of standard blurb you would get on these things. Let's take the dust jacket off and have a look at what it looks like raw. We have got Archer and Armstrong embossed in gold, which is nice. That's a nice bit of blocking there. And it looks nice on the spine. Again, this will look great on your shelf if you keep it raw, with a nice clean back. End pages are yellow. So let's just dive straight into it. So yeah, Archer and Armstrong book 1. Let's have a look at the contents. What we have in the contents here are 3 trade paperbacks. The first one is the Michelangelo Code. Oh, sorry about the lighting, by the way. This is noon in the UK. This is how bright it gets. I have a lamp on. I've got all the windows open and curtains open, and it basically looks like it's like 7 in the morning. It's ridiculous. It's so gloomy outside. Anyway, we have the Michelangelo Code, which is the first 4 issues. You'll notice there it has the individual issue titles. Then we have, very confusingly, the second trade paperback collection, which is called Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, which is issues 5 to 9. We'll come back to that and discuss that in a second. And then we have the final trade paperback, which is called Far, Far Away, which starts off with issue 0, there, and then has issues 10 to 13, and actually ends on a cliffhanger. And then it's got the usual gallery bits and pieces. So let's have a look inside as per usual. So we've got the Michelangelo Code, which is just those 4 issues. The opening issue starts off way back in the day, back in the city of Ur, and it's about the use of this magical device, this thing called the boon, by the three brothers, the three Anipadi brothers, and this is how they basically get their various powers and become immortal and so on and so forth. Now, obviously at this point, we've just been reading the Eternal Warrior comics, and even prior to that, we've got some idea of the existence of these three brothers. Aram, that's actually not Gilad. Where's Gilad? Gilad's there. He's all fucked up. And Ivar. So we know the existence of them. We know there was some kind of a magical boon. We know it gave them their powers and so on. But this is the first time we see that story in detail. And frankly, chronologically, this was published in 2012, so probably should have read that back then. But it's no big deal. So what happens then? It flashes to the modern day, and you then get introduced to the character of Archer. And again, Archer is someone who you've met in other comics, specifically in Faith and in a few other bits of the Bloodshot crossover and things like that. So Archer is basically a teenager, I suppose, or just a very young man, who essentially has the same skills as Taskmaster from the Marvel Universe, in that he has a photographic memory. Anything he sees, he can do. That basically means he masters every skill. He is master of every martial art, every weapon, every language, you name it, he can do it. Which does make him kind of overpowered, and the way they compensate by it is they make him an absolute hick. They make him really naive and really unaware of the world around him, and really kind of sort of gentle and meek and timid, and in that sense he works very well as a contrast with Armstrong. And Armstrong, of course, has been around for about 5,000 years. He drinks, he fornicates, he does drugs, and so in that sense they're a very good contrast to each other. Armstrong being super strong and immortal, Archer being very, very human, but incredibly talented, with an incredible prowess at basically everything. So those are the first four issues. That's the Michelangelo Code, and that leads us straight into Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. Now, this trade paperback here, Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, is the first time we actually come across Gilad, chronologically speaking, in the Valiant universe. Sorry, I should be more precise there. Chronologically in order of publication in the Valiant universe. So I guess it would make sense to read this before the Eternal Warrior comics, but to be honest, jury's out on that. So basically, this is where Gilad turns up. You see his interaction with Archer. There's like a whole battle scenario going on. Quite cool stuff. Good action, good writing. Oh yeah, good point. This is when we meet Kay. So Kay is the geomancer that we see later on in the Valiant. So yes, this actually should be read before reading the Valiant. Yeah, that's a good point. I will think about that when I start putting my map together for this part of the Valiant universe. But yeah, so this is Kay the Geomancer, obviously a really crucial part of the Eternal Warrior's kind of life and backstory. She's very cool. This story is very cool. I enjoyed it a great deal. Overall, I've got to say, I enjoyed the entire deluxe hardcover. It was great. It was really, really fun to read. Where are we now? Right. That takes us to the end of that trade paperback. The next one is called Far, Far Away, which has these issues starting with issue 0. And yeah, this is kind of about the... What's the best way to put this without spoilers? This is about the realm from which the boon, the device that gave everyone their powers right at the beginning, and made everyone immortal, or the three brothers immortal. This is about the land that came from. This is about the nature and the history of the boon. This is also just progressing some stuff about Archer trying to understand his past and his backstory and things like that. And yeah, overall, a great arc. It was fun to read. It was decent, had lots of twists and turns. This also introduces Ivar. So Ivar Time Walker. Here he is, this dude here. So Ivar Time Walker is the third brother, and as a result, reading this is something you really should read before reading the Ivar Time Walker Deluxe Edition, which obviously I haven't read yet, so I guess I'm reading that in the right order. It does end on a cliffhanger, which I'm not going to spoil here, and then it takes us straight into the gallery. And the gallery is good stuff. Usual sorts of stuff. Overall, this was fun. This was fun. This was pretty self-contained. It doesn't really require anything else. If you haven't read Eternal Warrior, that's fine. It explains everything you need here, because obviously this is set before the Valiant and the Eternal Warrior comics that we've been reading. Yeah, and like I say, it introduces Ivar Time Walker, who does have his own series later on. It's good, it's fun. The dynamic of Archer and Armstrong is enjoyable. I like Archer's character, I like Armstrong as a character, I like what they introduce, I like the world that they're depicting and painting. It's overall just good. So, with that out of the way, the homework for next time is, perhaps unsurprisingly, Archer and Armstrong Deluxe Edition Volume 2, which I believe is also out of print, but not as out of print as this. Anyway, I've had that for a while, so I'm looking forward to reading that. Yeah, so if you do want to continue reading along with me for, well, I guess the start of our second year of Valiant Comics, or Valiant reading, then that's what it is, Archer and Armstrong Deluxe Edition Volume 2.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please follow me on Twitter at I am Thomas Judge, where I will post a daily review of whatever comics I've been reading. You can get an idea of what I'm up to on the channel. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon.com and checking out my prose novel about superheroes. It's a completely original piece of work. The first episode in it is called Arrivals, and the series as a whole is called No Gods or Kings. You can find an excerpt of that on my website, nogodsorkings.com. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.